Are you looking for valuable business advice to reach that 7-figure revenue mark? Do you want actionable tips to properly navigate through every business challenge you encounter along the way? Let Tersh Blissett and Josh Crouch be your guide in getting you to the top here at Service Business Mastery. Tune in as they sit down with world-renowned authors in business, leadership, and personal growth who share valuable insights about management, marketing, pricing, human resources, and so much more. Let their nuggets of wisdom gold guide you in owning a thriving, profitable, and ever-growing business. Here are your hosts, Tersh and Josh.
Hello, everyone out there in the podcast world. Hope you're having a wonderful day. You're listening to or watching Service Business Mastery Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tersh Blissett, sitting across the table from my co-host, Joshua Crouch. And we are live at the Women in HVAC R event in Jacksonville, 2023. Let's see. For those of you who are not familiar with the podcast, this is your first time tuning in. Thank you for hanging out with us today. This podcast is focused on service business owners, managers, and technicians who are considering becoming business owners themselves. So our goal with this podcast is to help answer some unasked questions that you may have about business, personal life, capacity, and those types of good things. But with that being said, our guest today, you don't have any kind of HVAC background, do you?
No, but I have a water heater that broke once. Yeah, how's that?
That's
there you go. Yeah, I got
perfect.
that. And I have an air conditioning system and a heating system, and most importantly, I pay the people who are experts. So that's what I do. That's what I do. Yeah.
So if you don't mind, give a quick introduction of yourself, who you are, a little bit of background. You are the keynote for this morning, and we snagged you right off the stage, so you're probably tired of talking. But
I'm never tired of talking. That's one of the gifts as well as the curses of my life. My name is Mary Kelly, and I own and run a company called Productiveleaders because who wants an unproductive leader?
Okay.
There's a lot of people out there who are unproductive though. And we do business, economic, and leadership development. Our whole goal is to improve profit growth. Now, many people think, that's going to be easy to improve profit growth, but they do it the wrong way. They increase revenue, but it's not necessarily improving profitability. Okay. So we take the very big picture approach and then a very tactical approach. So the difference between strategy and tactics, as both of you know from being in the Air Force, strategy is the big picture, tactics are what do you do next. So today, they got a lot of information on the economy, on where business is, what leadership trends are, kind of moving through the system, and then most importantly, what do you do next? And that's the big question, what next?
I'll be honest with you. We go to events like this. Josh is going on 9 days being away from home, being at different expos and events and stuff. I went home for a day or two to pick up Julie and come back because she had drill this weekend.
Yes.
This past weekend or whatever.
Because she's cool.
Yeah. So we go to events like this all the time, and we hear theory all the time. We hear...
Or very high level stuff.
Yeah, it's like, we went from 0 to 6 million in 3 months. And you're like, okay, wow, how? Like, we just
doubled down on things, we just focused.
Yeah, we just hired a new person.
We just hustled.
Yeah, we hustled.
We hustled.
We love that word, hustle, whatever. We never hear the things that you spoke about, which is great. One of the things you mentioned at the very end there, you said, and I didn't get to see the whole thing because I was sitting here setting this up and doing all of the stuff that we get to do as fun podcasters. But one of the things that I did catch you say is that you created this PDFs, and you're like, these PDFs are not just PDFs. They're downloadable and they're fillable. And I was like, geez, Louise, like, we need to...
People cheered.
Yeah,
they were so happy.
They literally applauded.
They did.
Because there's so many times that we'll download something and it's like, great, now I have to rewrite, or I have to put it in something else that can write over the top of this stuff, or print it out, The productivity aspect of it, just the bits and pieces that I caught of your talk was great. But for those who didn't catch your talk, and I didn't get to catch all of it, but I'd love to hear more about just everything that you talked about earlier. Can you condense that a little bit? Because I think you spoke for
like
a
2
long
hours.
time.
Almost 2 hours, yeah.
And I can talk for 10 more. I promise I can. So very quickly, a lot of people the last few years have, COVID was part of it, but a lot of people started to blame COVID for everything wrong in their life. Stop it. Stop blaming COVID for everything wrong in your life.
It was a very convenient excuse.
Yeah.
It was an excuse for people. Okay.
Hey, I gained 30 pounds. It was COVID's fault.
Of course it was. It had nothing to do with your refrigerator. I was getting a tan from my refrigerator light for a while. I was like, woo, here we go. You know, a lot of people, they love to make excuses because it absolves them from taking responsibility. And my perspective is, we're finished. Look, it was a tough time. I get all that. So have a hug, get a puppy, but move on. Let's get things done. Let's do the right things. Let's make sure that we are serving people with our whole heart. Let's make sure that we're actually helping people be successful. And that means, yeah, the strategy needs to be there, but they also need the tactics. People need to know, okay, I need to put one foot in front of the other. How? What do I need to do? Because for a lot of people, they are paralyzed into inactivity. They're so used to the excuses that they kind of started believing some of them. And part of the thing we as leaders have to do is to help people stop that cycle, which is very unhealthy, of creating excuses, not doing their best at work, not doing their best at home, not being their best person. And our job as leaders is not just to motivate people, but help them on that path by giving them the next step forward.
How do you track that? I mean, we have a remote business, and so does Josh. Josh has a digital marketing agency that's remote. We have an HVAC company that's remote, completely remote. How do we know, like, how can we spot things like that and help them out?
Great question. So you know when your people are struggling because they will tell you without telling you. They will not be taking your phone calls. They take their time getting back to you. They're not responsive. You know, a day or two goes by and you're like, hey, they haven't called me back. You've seen that.
So yeah, and actually recently we had one of our client success managers, things just seem off. Their email, because everything's tracked in a remote environment. You almost have to track everything. And I know Church does the same thing with his business, where seeing his emails and like something's off. And then he would come to meetings and he wasn't as prepared as he normally is. And so my wife sat him down like, hey, what's going on? And he anxiety and some other things going on, and all of a sudden we like, oh, like there's some stuff here that we got to work through. There are ways, but you have to be in tune to it too. You can't just, they're just not having a good day, and look past it. You actually have to care enough to ask the question and stop them from continuing that path, because he was just going off that route.
One of the things I didn't mention this morning that if I had more time I would have was when I commanded in the Navy, and I would walk around and I would go, hey, how you doing? How you doing?
Good.
Good. How you doing?
Great.
Great.
Yeah.
Good.
Fine.
Good, great, and fine are the three answers you get. You know what? That's totally not helpful. And for the first couple months I was in command, I believed that because I wanted to believe everything really was good, great, and fine. And you know what? It wasn't. So now I ask a different question. Now I ask, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being absolutely fantastic, you can't get better, and 1 being, keep me away from tall bridges and buildings. You know, I'm an 8. I go, hey, Teresa, you know, how are you? You go, an 8. I'm like, what's going to get you to a 9? And he's pauses, and I go, you're right, bourbon is the right answer. A little bourbon would take you right to a 9. I'm not going to be worried about you.
Yeah.
But if all of a sudden you say, kind of a 4, oh, whoa, that's all stop. That's okay. Is there something you want to strategize about? Is there something you want me to review with you? Can I help you come up with some solutions? Is there something you want to talk about? It gives you the opening to be that good leader. But if you don't ask the right question, you're not going to get the answer. And in fact, you're just masking things over. You know, if you've ever tried to repair drywall, you know, drywall mud is the most miraculous thing ever. Yeah. And so I have this analogy that a lot of leaders are just like drywall mud. They just want to patch things over and not actually see the problem. And don't fix the hole, just patch it up.
Well, because they have their things that they have to get to. So it's like, well, I did my job. I asked them how they were.
Yes.
Now I'm going to move on to this thing. I care, but I don't really care. I need to do what I need to do.
Right.
And it's that, like you said, serving people with the whole heart is definitely, people think they're doing it. Some
people do provide just lip service because, okay, let's face it, a lot of our leaders, they're busy. They're really busy people. And so I had one leader say, well, I asked them how they were. They said they were fine. If they were having a problem, they should be telling me. Okay, not everybody has that capacity. Not everybody thinks like you. And good leaders have to adjust your leadership to your people. That's the whole point you're there. Like, that's the whole reason. So we have to ask good questions, but then we also have to be willing to take those answers, even if it's not what we want to hear. And you both know we have had those bosses where they wanted the jelly, not the sandwich. Yeah. They did not want anything real. They want everything to just be pretty and wonderful and drywall mud over everything, and let's just pretend everything's great.
Yeah.
That's not leadership.
We kind of glossed over something because we didn't really do a full introduction. You said you commanded the Navy, and then you just went into something else, and
right.
Like, well, that's a pretty big deal.
Oh gosh. So sorry, I kind of did gloss over that. I was very fortunate. I got to spend 25 years on active duty in the Navy. I got to go to the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. I was one of the first women to graduate from the Naval Academy back in the 80s. And that launched, for me, what was for me a very good career. I was in Asia for 17 of those years. My only tour back on the mainland of the United States, well, the big island is the United States, was back teaching at the Naval Academy as a professor. And while I was there, I helped author some leadership books that we were using for the leadership department. So then when I retired, I thought, well, I wonder if I know more than just that. So I kind of challenged myself to write a book. So for anybody listening, if you're thinking about getting that book done, write that great American novel, just do it. And I'm just going to tell you, if you write 15 minutes a day, that's 2 pages. In 90 days, you'll have a manuscript. So that's what I mean by breaking down a thing. People say, well, I want to write a book, and it just seems so hard. No, 15 minutes a day, you can have a manuscript.
How do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
Yeah.
Everything's
It's so funny
one bite at a
because
time.
how many times have you heard that, Tersh?
Yeah, tons.
And
then we
But none of us reading elephants.
right.
yes, exactly. That's
We're
my
writing
point.
the books, we're doing the podcasts, we're doing the things. So we have to break down. So because some people go, well, how do you even start a podcast?
Oh yeah. We
and you're
literally said, let's build a course to teach people how to do a podcast. And you're like, that's a lot. That's a lot.
We're thinking about we're thinking of the big, hairy, audacious thing instead of let's just start with step 1.
Yeah.
And let's
Now let's explode it 10 times bigger. Whatever you're thinking, be 10 times bigger. If you're going to grow, what would 10 times bigger look like? And then go for that, because you'll hit something. You'll hit something if you go, oh, I just want to be a little bit better. I talk to some business owners, they go, oh, we just want to grow by 2% next year. Okay, but what if you grew by 20%?
Yeah.
Would that make a difference in your life? Would that be better? In some cases, it's not. In some cases, more rapid business growth is not better.
We went through that, actually. Julie and I went through that where we had a year where we grew like 600%. We grew 600%, no joke. That was the most stressful year that we had ever. And then it was so stressful that we had let's bring this back into reality, because the SOPs weren't there. Just everything, the what ifs did happen, and it wasn't great for us. But
Right.
we know now what needed to
But
process.
sometimes you got to go through that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need that explosive growth to figure out, okay, this is what we're really good at. Let's focus on that. If we all implemented everything we heard all the time, we'd never ever do anything.
Well, I love your point. The whole elephant analogy is just perfect, because that was one of the things. We were at an event last week, and then I went to a different event. It was non-trade specific at all. It was a completely different type of thing. But I don't set aside, you think of all these things, what am I going to do before I get back to implement that's actually going to change? Because otherwise we get back in and it's we got all these messages, these emails, there's clients that need something, we got all this stuff going on and nothing actually changed, even though we know it. It's sitting in the back of our mind.
That's right.
And then we actually almost get mad at ourselves because we know it and we're still not doing it. It almost puts extra pressure on yourself.
Oh, of course it does,
But
and it should. And you should be mad at yourself. Because what you're doing,
I'm mad at myself.
You should be angry at yourself for not prioritizing your time, for not doing what's important instead of what's urgent, and for not hiring out for the things that you can hire out for. If you want to make $100 an hour, stop doing the stuff that you can pay somebody else to do for $12 an hour.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yes. So Jay, he told me I was driving a lot, 3 hours a day. He said, you need to hire somebody to drive you. He said, 3 hours every single day you could be working in that passenger seat when your driver was driving you. I was like, drive. That's bougie, Jay. That's bougie. People call me bougie anyways. If I showed up with a driver, that'd be ridiculous.
okay, if you showed up with a driver and a bodyguard, that would be bougie.
Yeah.
But just with a driver,
True. But that's the whole thought process that I had, was that
It's also why Jay Abraham is worth billions of dollars.
true, yeah. And he shows up in a Lamborghini Urus with a driver that drops him off and leaves. Jay, we're different tax bracket, dude. But anyways, he didn't get where he got by driving himself everywhere, and that's the point that he was making. One of the things that you said that I caught at the end of your speech was every single person in this room should have a VA. And I wholeheartedly believe that. If we have multiple VAs, and it's this one specializes in this one specializes in that, this one does a really good job at sending us a quick video, and then Grace, we could send her any question and she's boom, she's on it. my thought process, and I'm cheap, and Josh was,
which is weird. He doesn't look cheap.
He doesn't look cheap. He looks very extravagant,
I know
very
he does.
expensive.
no, it's not. It's a facade. And Josh says, hey, we have Grace, and she's going to do X, Y, and Z, and blah, blah, blah. She'll cost us this much a month. And I was like, gosh, that's a lot I could really do. I could do all of that myself very easily. And Josh is like, stop doing it, because you could be doing a course that you're not building, or getting input on a course that we're not building. Instead, you're doing graphic arts and all this other crap. And I'm like, but then it's like, what's the box called? The 4 boxes?
The things you love and you're the best at, or you're really good at. The thing you love but you're not the best at. You don't like
But you're
what you're good at, and then you don't like it.
This is one of the things that I'm good at, and I like it, but I'm not the fastest at it. So
There's times when that's okay, though. So what I say is you have to do the things that nobody else can do.
yeah,
And that is your product differentiation. That is your product service differentiation. The things that only you can do, that's what you have to be focused on, number one. Number two, if you're in business today, a lot of people get very distracted about what they should do. Okay, let me make it super easy. Wake up in the morning, do first what's gonna make you money. That's it. If that's writing the contract, getting the proposal, making the call, do the thing that's going to make you the money first off. And then you can get into the nice to-dos, the things you like and all of that. I'm not saying you shouldn't do some of those things that you like. I've got HVAC buddies and they're the owners of the company and they still go out and get dirty. I kind of like that. They're good at it. They like it. They enjoy it. They enjoy seeing the customers. The teams kind of like it when they get out on the road, but they've already done the things that are the most important that day. They've already done the thing that's going to make them money. And if those are the things that only you can do, you're doing your team. And this is where some people don't get this. If you're not doing those things, you're doing your team a disservice. And sometimes they're like, well, why aren't you out here putting in this heating system with me? Well, because I'm out getting the next job. Yeah. And that's the thing that I do. That's the thing that you don't do. And if you'd like to come with me, I'll show you how to do that. And you'll understand this. But you have to do the things only you can do that give you the most bang for the buck for your time. Yeah. And time is the one thing we can't get back. Right. Your life is a finite number of unknown minutes. So stop wasting them on doing things that don't matter. I love acronyms, we all do. So I use SDS, stop doing stupid. And by stupid, I don't just mean the task is stupid. I mean things that waste your time. If you ever see anything on social media and it's promotional about me, like Mary says this, or I didn't do that. I have a team of people.
Well, right.
Yeah.
I can't be doing that.
And
we used to do that, and now we have a team that does it. And
people see us everywhere.
People
they're like, "Oh, you
comment.
guys do stuff. You guys are always posting stuff."
They'll
I'm
say
like,
something to us like, "Oh, that post that you did the other day, great post."
That's what good teams do.
Yeah.
But we have to stop doing stupid. And a lot of people, they waste time. And I ask especially my young people because they have more ways to waste time than we did at that age. I say we, the collective we. Mm-hmm. There's certain things like getting distracted by hours and hours of watching TikTok videos. Yeah, stop doing that. Like, stop doing it. Stop it. Stop doing it.
This man sends me TikToks almost on the daily. He finds something that's
this guy right here doesn't even know how to open TikTok.
I open it, I'm like, this video doesn't even make sense, and it was like the next video. I don't know how it works. So.
Except the singing huskies. I like any video of huskies on TikTok. Those are my favorites.
Do you have huskies?
I don't have huskies, which is why I like other people's. The huskies howl, and then they put in the words what it means. I've got my
they're talking to each other?
Yes, I love that so much. But it's so easy to get down those rabbit holes, and you're like, oh, I'll only just relax for 15 minutes, and then 2 hours go by. You're literally watching your life drip through your fingers like if you pour water through your hands and it just goes away. Is this really how you want to spend your life? Is that really what you want on your headstone? You could be helping people. You could be making a difference. You could be influencing people. Our job as leaders is to show, it's real easy. Show up every day, remind people what the purpose is. Purpose. Show up every day with the intent to inspire and influence people every single day. Show up every day, check out people's vulnerability and the volatility, on a scale of 1 to 10. Show up and look at the opportunities. What do we got? What do we got going? And then making sure your people have the tools, training, and technology to get that done. The acronym, of course, for it is PIVOT. Purpose, influence, volatility, vulnerability, opportunities, tools.
Share the way that you communicate. You mentioned communication is very important as a leader. I am so guilty of doing exactly what you talked about, where I'm not an over communicator, and one of my pet peeves is to be repeated to. I don't like to have to repeat myself, and I don't like people repeating stuff.
Can you say that again?
The thing that you mentioned on stage, can you do that again? Where when you landed in?
Oh, stop. Mm-hmm. So as I mentioned today in the program, all of my siblings and most of the spouses are military. So when I travel, I'm on the road about 20 days a month, kind of like y'all. And when I land, my siblings always know where I am because we text, or we're great texters. Even my mom, who's 91, is good with the texting. And even she does this. So when I land, I don't say, hey everybody, so excited, I'm here in Jacksonville, Florida, super excited, the plane's all made it, woo, have a little wine on the plane. They already know that. I'm gonna have such a great time tomorrow, super excited, great hotel, great group, great people, get to talk about leadership and economics, my life is perfect, love you. No, I don't do that. Because they know all that. They know all that. We have such a high degree of trust with each other that we don't have to say all the words. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't say all the words, especially in like couple relationships, sometimes you need to say more of those words. But with my siblings, we were raised by wolves together, like, you know, we're all in there together. And so I can use short, choppy sentences and acronyms. So when I arrive, I use a Navy term, which is SOD, safe on deck. So when the plane touches down on a carrier deck and it catches hopefully the third wire, you're SOD, you're safe on deck. And you know if you've ever flown with a Navy pilot, because you're flying, you go, kaboom, bumpity, bumpity, bumpity.
Yes.
And they're like, did we just crash land? And up there high-fiving each other.
You land in a commercial plane.
You know, carriers look really big until you try to land something on it, and you're like, well, this
They
is...
look big from a distance.
Yeah, and then you're like, we're going to land on that? That's a terrible idea.
And then they hit the brakes.
Yeah. So SOD is safe on deck. So I send to my siblings and my mom, SOD, safe on deck, JAX, JAX, or ATL, Atlanta, or DFW, or DEN.
Whatever airport.
Whatever airport I'm in. And everything else is perfectly understood by my siblings. So we all know where we are. We check in with each other. The accountability is there. High degree of accountability, high degree of understanding, high degree of trust. I don't have to say all those words. Now, sometimes somebody will ask a question, like, when do you go home? Something like that. But for us, it's perfect communication. You have to figure out what's perfect communication. I don't know if you ever saw the show Blue Bloods, you know, where Danny and his wife, they go, I love you more, I love you most. Like that for them was perfect communication. So we have to figure out with our teams what's good communication. And the way we do it mostly is by making mistakes with bad communication. And most people will tell you, I'm a good communicator. You know what? Statistically, that's like driving. We're all average. We're average, and some of us are worse than others. So chances are they're not good communicators. We have to over-communicate.
That's tough, because I'm an under-communicator.
I'm getting people in the back of the room who are nodding because they know him. Most people are under-communicators, and the problem there is we make assumptions that people will understand what our intent is. So let me give you a good example of that. You know how to drive a car, right? Both of you gentlemen? Yeah, okay. So you've run a stop sign. You didn't mean to. Probably.
I did.
And so okay, we're gonna ignore that one. But you ran a stop sign and all of a sudden you were like, oh shoots, and that's not what you thought.
Yeah.
You thought something else. You run the stop sign and then you look around to see, oh my gosh, did I put anybody at risk? Is anybody in danger? Am I in danger of hitting a small child? Like all that. And then you look around for the police car that you're hoping is not there. And you're like, whoa, okay, got away with that. So your intent wasn't to run the stop sign.
Yes.
But I'm watching you run the stop sign. And you know what I think in my head?
Yes, God.
Well, yes, that's exactly right.
Flew through that
That's
stop sign.
right. Because I can't see your intent.
Yeah.
See, communication is that way. We can't always tell the intent, so we have to communicate.
So when we run the next stop sign, we gotta yell at the
Yeah, that's it, and it's so true that you mentioned that. And another car analogy is how emotional we get with other drivers on the road. You're driving so slow in the fast lane, like get the heck out of the way. You're getting physically mad at that person. In reality, you don't know what they're going through.
That's
You haven't communicated.
Do you often get mad when you drive? Do you need to puppy your hug?
I
Maybe
drove
less
with him.
caffeine?
I drove with him last week.
People are like blowing past us, like whipping in front. I'm like, Josh, what's going on? Oh, we're in the 65. He's driving in the left lane, just a talking and bebopping, and he's in a big old jacked up truck, and everybody's whipping over and honking horns. Josh, man, let's speed up a little bit, huh? And we were late to where we were going. He didn't care. He was like, doo-doo-doo-doo. We're going.
With the remote team, we communicate with Slack a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I send something, and then a team member does something based on what I say. I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't explain that very well because I didn't explain what their parameters were. I just kind of gave them a thing, and they did the thing the way I said it. There wasn't, one, I would love them to ask some clarifying questions because I do this
So basically,
often.
you're upset with somebody because they did what
Yeah.
you said.
Yep.
Instead of you being upset with you because
Yeah.
you didn't communicate it properly?
Correct.
Okay, you need a puppy and a hug too. Okay.
I do.
Okay, all right, just checking.
Don't tell my wife we didn't have a puppy. Don't tell
There's
her.
never enough
Just don't tell
puppies.
Bernie that we got 3 dogs. I don't need any more puppies.
I'll find you. I can get you a puppy by the end of the day.
Oh, if
I can get
she
you.
would take one too.
Oh,
Where do you guys live?
We have 18.
You have 18 cats?
Give or take the day of the week.
Maybe you need therapy instead of a dog. I don't
We
know.
have 200 acres.
Oh,
so
that's
they're
fine.
like, they hang out
Oh,
all over the
that's
place, yeah.
There's a lot to kill in Georgia.
Yeah.
There's lots of feed.
So hurtful. All right, so hurtful.
Anyway,
This is
way to-
railroaded.
Yeah, good job, Josh. You messed up on it, 100%. So sometimes I relay a message in the way of, I apologize for not communicating properly, as my way of saying, you're an idiot, reread the message. I clearly explained it. Which is why I use ChatGPT. If there's ever a not extremely positive message, I have to pop it in there. It'll sort of spit things out, content. So I'm familiar with ChatGPT.
Of course.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I had a message like that going to my team because I was going to be gone for 9 days in Florida, and I had just some negative feelings, and I wrote the message out, and I had it slide, and I took it, and I wrote it, and I copied and pasted it into ChatGPT and asked it to give it a more positive tone. Sounded so much better. Made me look
Yeah,
like a much better leader.
everybody in the company was like, Josh didn't write that.
Yeah, he doesn't mean it. You're reading between the lines.
It really could not understand.
But most people do. Communication is the number one way we get things done. It's the number one way we screw things up. Ask anybody who's ever been married. Okay, so think about that. Okay, this is the person you love more than anything else on the planet. And yet, you've had stupid arguments with that person. And it's stupid because, okay, you were both wrong. I'm just letting you know you were just wrong. But it was a miscommunication. It's a miscommunication. And this is the person you love most on the planet. You have pledged your undying love and support forever, death do you part, all those things. And yet you still screw it up with them. And then we get upset when somehow perfect communication doesn't happen at work. Of course it's not going to happen at work. These aren't even people you like. And of course you're going to screw this up. So how do we then take a step back and be better communicators? One of the things I challenge my senior leaders to do is go on a platform like Fiverr or Upwork, one of those places where you have to really map out what you want done. Keep in mind, the person who's doing the job, English is not their first language in all probability, and it's going to go through a translation process. So you have to be very, very, and all of a sudden they go, oh. And when they start to read that and go, okay, so this is what it's being translated. I'm going to translate this into Pakistani and then translate it back into English. Is this what you meant? And they're like, not even close. I'm like, that is a great exercise. How
That's
we are
so true.
perceived. How
That's so
we, we need to make sure that first off, when we don't communicate well, we're wasting people's time. And now we've wasted our organizational resources. But there's nothing worse than somebody going, wait, you need me to redo this because you gave me bad information? Okay, it would have taken you 3 extra minutes to make it super clear, and instead I spent 3 days on this, and now I'm demotivated. Now I'm upset because I feel like you didn't respect me enough to give me the communication I need to be successful. And frankly, they have a point.
It's funny if you just take your time. And again, bang this over the head because we've heard this a million times. But if you take your time to do the things right the first time, just take your time because we always run. There's so much going on, and the phone's dinging, and you got this coming in, and you got to get to this event or you got to do this thing, and you don't take your time. You just here it is. I'm just gonna get something quick so I can move on to the next thing, which never works out very.
It's like fast food versus healthy eating. Some of it does. Look, any shiny food tastes good.
I was gonna say something, but Josh totally ruined it.
Sorry about food. Mary, with your productive leaders,
I don't know what it was.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, what is that? Is it a course? What is that?
Yeah.
Productive Leaders is a company. And what we do is we go into conferences, we go into corporations, we go into associations, and we will frequently speak, like this morning at the conference. Think of a pie chart, like a pie diagram, and you get to fill in the pie. There's a leadership component, there's an economic component, there's a business growth component, there's a productivity component, and you kind of get to decide as a percentage what your people need. So let's say you're a corporation and you say, gosh, Mary, we need some more productivity. We're not really sure what this means, but we know we need some more of that. So what we will do is we will sometimes create a comprehensive survey that's short. If you give people too many questions, it has to be comprehensive but short, where your people are. So we'll assess your people for you, and then we'll create a training program for you, and then we'll come and deliver that. So that's one of the things we do. We speak at conferences like what you saw today. So this is one of the great ways we get to extend our reach and then give people a ton of information. It goes back to their companies. What we want is great productivity and great leadership to just grow like a virus. I mean, we wanted to kind of have that impact. So my goal is to have everybody who got the link today to take all those resources back to their teams. So even if they weren't here at the conference, they get the benefit of all that stuff. Because what we did put in that treasure chest is solid gold for a lot of teams. And then some of the other things we do is some people say, you know, we really need to just revamp. One of the big things we do is also succession planning. So we'll go into an organization and spend about a year, about a day a month, and we do it soup to nuts, everything. We do everything that is succession planning. We're going to figure out who needs to go where, what leadership has to happen, what skill sets need to be developed for jobs that haven't even been invented yet.
Yeah.
You know, 5 years ago, we were talking about a chief privacy officer. We were talking about a chief cyber officer 5 years ago, before people were even thinking these were real jobs. And so we have to be looking into the future about what needs to happen next. So conference speaking is the fun part, you know, and I love showing up for conferences. It's my favorite thing to do on the planet. I would rather speak on stage at a conference than be on vacation. I would.
You can tell you're kind of in your element. You can tell when people get on stage where it's like something's rehearsed, or they don't really love it, but they do it to grow their company or whatever, but you really seem to embrace that.
I love it. It's my most favorite thing to do. And I know that sometimes people say, oh, you know, my boss says I should be better at public speaking. I'm like, hang on. First off, for most people, it makes them nauseous.
Yeah.
It makes them sweat, their hands sweat, their head sweats, their stomach is sick, their brain turns off, they get dry mouth. I mean, it is a miserable experience for them. And I don't know why we have this idea, well, you should get over your fear of public speaking. Why? Nobody tells me, you know what, Mary, you should do your own electrical work. Like, you should get over your fear of being electrocuted. Just give it a shot. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Wait, a lot of bad things. Nobody tells me that. So why do we tell people, you know, to go do these things that they find miserable? No, call somebody like me who likes doing it, and we're going to do it, and then you don't have to do it. Like, this just, I had a CEO who said, well, every year I'm supposed to do this address to my people, and every year, weeks ahead of time, he's losing sleep. He loses 30 pounds every year, not in a good way, and he shakes, and he comes across very unsure of himself on stage. I'm like, okay.
It is almost worse than
it's worse.
Not doing
it's
it at
horrible.
all. Because people can see that. That's what they're thinking while they're
And
sitting
they're
in the
thinking,
chair.
what's wrong with our boss? I'm like, you know what we're going to do? Not this. You know what we're going to do? We are going to take you back to where you started, on the front lines with your team, with the people in, you know, boots on the ground type stuff. And we're going to film you doing that, and we're going to film you doing this other thing, and then you know what? I'm going to write a script for you. So it's going to be you doing stuff with people shaking hands, kissing babies, hugging puppies, and then I'm going to write a script, and in a studio with a microphone, you're going to record that, and it's going to be your voice, and it's going to sound nice and calm and modulated and confident. You're going to exude all of those amazing leadership qualities that if we had radio voice, we could do that. And then you know what you're going to do at the convention? You're going to stand up and go, hey, everybody, press play, and you're done. Like, no anguish, no problem, no sweating, no loss of 30 pounds. Let's make things better. That's what I mean by helping people succeed. You know, we have to work at the superpowers that people have, work with those. Don't be telling everybody, oh, you've got all these weaknesses, you should focus on those. Okay, that's kind of like you driving, and all you can think of is don't hit that, don't hit that, don't hit that, and you're going to hit it, because that's all you're focused on.
The link was you want to talk about that real quick, and then we can put the link in the show notes for...
So you want me to give away all the secret goodies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if you're willing.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I guess I kind of called you out. But...
Oh, sure. Heck yeah. So all the secret goodies are found at productiveleaders.com/2023 success. And in there, for your listening audience, for your viewing pleasure, you'll get that entire $497 package for free. So have fun. Spread the word, spread the love, spread the productivity, be great leaders. All that stuff.
That's awesome. We appreciate that.
You bet.
That's really awesome. And can you tell me really quick the 23 targets, 23 goals, 23?
So I also, in that vault of materials, you've got my Leader's Blind Spot Assessment. You've got the 12-month Business Success and Accountability Planner. You've got a whole bunch of books, leadership books, resiliency books, idea books, workbooks. There's a whole ton of workbooks in there, how to deal with difficult people, how to lead through a crisis, all that stuff. But then you've got my predictions for the year. So every year in November, I come out with, last year it was 23 for 2023. If it was 1997, I wouldn't do it. 97, no, not doing it. I've come out with 24 for 2024. It'll be published in this month.
Like
this is
Mary's,
November.
Mary's Farmer's Almanac.
Yes, this is my predictions. These are Mary's prognostication. I know it sounds like a dirty word. It's not a dirty word. And I'm going to And I'm going to tell you kind of what you need to do or what you need to prepare for. And that's the big thing, is most people are very good at looking backwards. But again, it's like driving through, your rear view, window. Don't be doing that. You got to be looking forward. So we have to know what's going to happen. And we have to have some idea of the external shocks that are going to maybe derail us or get us off course, so that we know how to prepare for them. We can't prepare for everything, but as leaders, if you develop your people so that they know what to do in case of a few things, then they will revert to that training in case of some of those other external shocks that you weren't prepared for. And that's what we have to do. We have to help people prepare for the what ifs. And you can't prepare for every single thing, but if you prepare the skills that help people respond, then they'll be successful and it'll be okay.
Thank you for hanging out with us.
Oh, it's so much fun. Y'all are great fun. This is great. You should, next time we can talk about business growth and what people are going to be doing in 2024 and where they need to be and all those things. We'll have a round two.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be great fun.
We'd love that.
Boom. Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com to learn more.